So the boy see murder. Oh man, they took him out again. Golly, Saturday. So check out this news clip.
Miller, known as C. Murder, the state's high court unanimously refused to hear another appeal of his 2009 murder conviction. Miller is the brother of rap mogul Master P. He has repeatedly challenged his life sentence for the 2002 fatal shooting of 16-year-old Stephen Thomas. He argued that recanted witness testimony and DNA evidence claims should lead to a new trial for him. But the Supreme Court stated Miller had exhausted his right to state review, closing the door on any more appeals.
So before I get my thoughts on this one, man, I want y'all to do something with me. I want to transform y'all and take y'all back to actually what happened. We found out a way that we can actually replay the scenes for y'all. If you like the way that this actually looks, I want y'all to make sure you type up setting ass clips because I got something special planned for y'all for this one. Roll it. Birdman hands. Bang! Before we move on, here's something you can do and get paid for. This is called free cash. Free cash is number 2 on the Apple Store and pays you to play games. You can make $500 plus a month by playing games for free. Use my QR code or the link in the description to get $5 when you download and sign up for free. Download and get paid on your phone and start playing. January 12, 2002 in Harvey, Louisiana began like an ordinary Saturday night. Streets warmed the air, thick cars lined up along the road outside local nightclubs. Music blared through the walls and groups of people gathered outside, laughing, talking, and waiting to get inside the Platinum Club. The environment was loud, crowded, and dimly lit. Bodies pressed together on the dance floor, lights flashed across the room, and the bass was strong enough to drown out almost everything else. It was the kind of setting where people blended together, where movement never stopped, and where it was difficult to keep track of exactly who was standing where at any given moment. No one entered the nightclub believing that it would become subject of court rulings decades later. No one was thinking about appeals, judges, or prison sentences. People were there to listen to music, drinking, and making it through the night. The Platinum Club was not calm or orderly, but it was familiar. It was chaotic in the normal way nightlife often is. The sense of normalcy would not last. At some point during the night, the atmosphere inside the club changed. The shift did not happen at once. Some people stopped dancing, others raised their hands instinctively. Confusion spread before anyone clearly understood why. The music continued briefly, but panic moved faster than the sound. Someone pushed towards an exit, another person turned suddenly, eyes wide. Moments later, gunshots rang out inside the club. There was no single clear angle, no universally agreed upon account of what exactly happened, just sharp cracks cutting through the noise, movement, and darkness. People ran, bodies collided, drinks spilled across the floor, chairs scraped as the crowd surged. In the chaos, visibility was limited and fear took over. Outside, people poured into the street, disoriented and shocked. Sirens would arrive later, but by then the damage had already been done. A teenager had been shot during the chaos. His name was Stephen Thomas. He was 16 years old, too young to be legally inside the nightclub and too young to lose his life. As the night faded into the morning, the scene outside the Platinum Club changed completely. Yellow tape stretched across the entrance, candles appeared on the sidewalk, people gathered quietly where they had been laughing only hours later. The music was gone, replaced by silence and shock. Stephen Thomas never got to explain what he saw or where he was standing. He never got a defense. His death became the center of everything that followed. Police began questioning witnesses immediately, but reconstructing the events inside the club proved difficult. The environment had been dark and crowded. People were moving constantly, alcohol involved. Some witnesses reported hearing gunshots, but said they never saw the shooters. Others believed they saw someone with a gun, but struggled to agree on the details. Descriptions overlapped, then conflicted. Timelines blurred together. Despite the inconsistencies, investigators focused on one name that continued to surface: C. Murder. C. Murder was not an unknown figure. He was a rapper and a public personality, someone whose name carried recognition. Witnesses described the shooter as wearing dark clothing, having braided hair, and acting aggressively. Officers recorded statements, collected names, and attempted to form a coherent narrative from fragmented accounts. As the investigation progressed, media attention followed closely behind. Headlines emphasized the subject's status as a rapper, framing the case around notoriety as much as evidence. Once that narrative took hold publicly, it became difficult to separate the person from the actual accusation. So, when the case moved toward trial, one issue stood out immediately: the lack of physical evidence. No murder weapon was recovered, no fingerprints tied to a gun. Nothing. Nothing ever tied C. Murder to any of this shit except witness accounts. So there's no DNA evidence placed with a weapon in his hands on it. There's no surveillance footage clearly capturing the shooting. The prosecution's case relied primarily on eyewitness testimony from inside a chaotic nightclub. Under the law, eyewitness testimony can be sufficient for conviction, but such testimony is also vulnerable to error, especially under stressful conditions involving fear, darkness, and confusion. Let's add a little liquor into that. The first trial actually ended without a verdict. The jurors were not unable to reach a unanimous decision. A hung jury meant the case was unresolved but not dismissed. The state chose to retry the case. By the second time the trial began, the pressure was higher. Witness testimony appeared to be more confident. The prosecution emphasized consistency among accounts, while the defense continued to highlight contradictions and the absence of physical evidence. The atmosphere in the courtroom was heavier. The stakes were clear. The second jury reached a verdict. C. Murder, guilty. A second-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The sentence carried no release date and no opportunity for early freedom. For the legal system, the case appeared to be closed. The conviction was secured, but time didn't stop. And the sentence that was imposed had more questions about it than the actual case did. And since nothing disappeared in the years that followed, two key prosecution witnesses recanted their testimony. They claimed they had been pressured by police during the investigation. They stated they did not actually see Murder fire a weapon, and that they were influenced to identify someone whose name they already recognized. Those recantations became central to multiple appeals. Defense attorneys argued that the conviction rested on unreliable testimony and that the new statements warranted a re-examination of the case. Questions were raised about DNA testing and whether the investigation had been sufficiently thorough. However, appeals courts operate under strict rules. They do not reweigh evidence or retry cases. Their role is to determine whether the original trial followed proper legal procedures. Recanted testimony, especially when it occurs years after a conviction, is often viewed as skepticism. So, courts frequently ruled that juries are responsible for weighing credibility and that later testimonies that change actually do not automatically invalidate verdicts. So over time, each appeal was denied. Post-conviction relief was rejected. Appellate courts upheld their conviction. The Louisiana Supreme Court previously affirmed the rulings, stating that the legal processes had been followed. With each denial, the path forward narrowed. That brings this case to today. The Louisiana Supreme Court once again refused to hear another appeal in C. Murder's case. In a unanimous decision, the court declined to revisit his 2009 second-degree murder conviction. The justices ruled that C. Murder had already exhausted his options under state law and failed to demonstrate that any legal exception permitted another filing. In their view, there was no legal basis to reopen the case. With that ruling, the door under Louisiana state law is effectively closed. So we sit and we figure it out. End of the day. It's kind of weird to be put in this space, right, where your name being C. Murder definitely don't help you. And then you being a big name there definitely don't help you. But the question really becomes, why would they lie? I think that's the one thing that everybody can absolutely say in this case. Why would they say you? Now, some people say, oh, because the police said it and all this shit, and they try to make him out to be the bad guy and all this shit. Bro, you still had to answer the question, why you? Why you? So I don't know, bro. At one point, you could say, shit, the people, they came out and they actually told the truth. Or you could say they got paid off to lie. I don't know. I don't think that's necessary because that comes with too many risks for you to do some shit like that. Like for them to actively go and pursue the people and pay them off to to recant their story. Me personally, I'm not seeing it. So I'm just curious as to why the first time they said it and why the second time they stood more firm on it. Because if you weren't so sure the first time, why stand firm the second time? Because the police can't sit up here and say we're going to charge you with lying because if you remembered it correctly, then they have nothing because you're not actively hurting the case as far as you being involved in it. So, hell if I know, man. But y'all, let me know your thoughts on this one. If you like videos like this, now, like I say, type in the Clips channel and subscribe over there. Or just say, you know what, man, Nash, keep that shit over here for certain things. And let's see if we can get some more of that going. But other than that, man, I'll catch you on the next one. Click right here, though, to see how, what they calling her? Stud Rilla? Broke Rilla? Whatever the hell they calling her. Yeah, the saga continues on, man. Click right here to see this bullshit. Or click right here for the playlist. Nah, catch you on the next one.